Go finish. We're going to go to inshallah quickly with just 2 hadiths and that's it. Bab Uquq al-Walidain. The chapter regarding the uquq. Uquq is the person who is undutiful to his parents. The first hadith which we have explained, if you remember, yes? Hadith number 15, yes? We have explained it, which is hadith Abdul Rahman, the son of Abu Bakr. He is the first person to, he was the first baby to born in Islam in Basra. And from the authority of his father Abu Bakr, who is a companion, who had embraced Islam after the battle of Hunayn. He said that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ, shall I inform you about the major sins, أكبر الكبائر. And then he said, 3 times, said it, أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِأَكْبَرِ الْكَبَائِرِ أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِأَكْبَرِ الْكَبَائِرِ أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِأَكْبَرِ الْكَبَائِرِ. I am asking the brothers who were here, did I explain this hadith or not? Did I go through it? I'm sure I did.
Yes, you did.
Jazakallahu khairan. So I'll just go recap on it. He said it 3 times. And why he said it 3 times? To emphasize his statement. And he said, the ishraku billah, to associate a rival with Allah Azza wa Jal, wa uquq al-walidayn, and to be undutiful to your parents, wa jalasa wa kana muttakiya, and he sat while he was leaning. قال ألا وقول الزور, he said, and he started repeating, ألا وقول, saying the falsehood statement. He kept repeating it until the companion Abu Bakr, he said, ليته سكت. I wish that he was to stop, because he was sympathizing on the Prophet of Allah repeating that. And it's the agonizing and the disturbance happens on the Prophet of Allah. So this hadith shows us, number 1, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu he told us that there's major sins and there's minor sins. And the sins, they are differ from one sin to another. And they are greater in accordance with their mischief. The more mischief it does the sin, the more the greater it is. The major sin and minor sins. Also, he had repeated the same 3 times to emphasize so that the people will understand. Also, we could find from this hadith that it is good and recommended for the person when he is admonishing the people, or the khatib, when he's addressing the people, to start talk into a way which is like he is concerned, so that the people pay attention to him, and that it will be as well more effective in making the people to understand. Also, we understand from this hadith that the uquq, being undutiful to your parent, is one of the kaba'ir. Also, saying the falsehood statement is one of the great sins. Also, we find it that it is good from the scholar to start questioning the teachers, the students. Here the Prophet of Allah said, Allah, shall I inform you of the greatest of all sins? So he had initiated the question. So it's good from the scholar, or the da'i, or the teacher, also to initiate the question to the students that would make them interactive. Also, this is to, he had emphasized by repeating, ala wa qawlu zur, ala wa qawlu zur, saying the false statement. He had repeated it in such a way to show it is the effect and the bad effect of such sin. Wal-'iyadu billah. Also, it shows the love of the companions of the Prophet of Allah when he said, "Laytahu sakat." I wish that he was, to stop and he take it easy on himself. The love and the passion, the compassion of the companions, the kindness of the companions, and the love they have towards their Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we have mentioned that the lies is 4 times: lying on Allah, lying on the Messenger of Allah, lying against the people, and lying to the people, for the people. Those are the 4 categories of lies which we have mentioned before. Now, number 16, Hadeeth Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, and we will do 16 and 17 if we have the time, inshallah. 16, Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah. This is the hadith where it says, An Warrad. Warrad, he is the katib. Katib is the ascribe of the one who writes for Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah. He said, Kataba Mu'awiyah wrote a letter to Al-Mughira, and he said to him, Al-Mughira radiallahu anhu, he was the mayor of that in Damascus. He said to him, write to me what you heard from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Warrad said, Mughira told me to write back to Muawiyah the following, that I have heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ينهى عن كثرة السؤال وإضاعة المال وعن قيل وقال. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had said, he had heard the Prophet saying, forbidding كثرة السؤال, ask Su'al. Su'al here, it could be interpreted in two ways. That is, to insist, to ask the people the money. Because when you are kathrat al-su'al, to ask the people the money when you are not in need of it. Also, to ask questions which have no benefits, except just to cause problems. And to make things complicated. People ask questions which have no benefit. The staff that Sulaiman alayhi salam was using, how long was it? The ant that talked to Sulaiman alayhi salam, was it a male or a female? I'm not benefit from that question. So, complication being resulted because of this question. Don't ask questions like that, which will result in the people being confused. So, kathratul su'al, that is to insist and ask people for money, which is you're not in need of, and also it means as well to ask questions where did not happen, did not occur. Say that if I am in the moon and I had a bank account there, is that allowed to take money from there? Does it happen? Is it going to happen to go to the moon and have a bank account there? So, questions like that, not realistic. And that's why the scholars, when they ask him some questions which are weird, did it happen? Did it happen, that scenario? Did it happen? Asking, is it realistic? Yeah, it did happen. Alright? Now, you could ask about something that not happen, but as long as you have what? Benefit. Like Hadeeth ibn Yaman, he was asking about the evil to come. Where the people talk about the good thing. About the evil to come. He didn't see it yet, because he wants to know. So no problem. And then he says, وَنَهَا عن كثرة السؤال وعن إضاعة المال. إضاعة المال, to waste the money. Waste the money in number of ways. Israf, tabdhir. What is israf? Israf, which we're going to be talking about inshallah when we talk about other hadiths. Israf is to spend money in halal but over the limit. Over the limit. So for example, you are in need of a car which is this cost 10,000. And the car does the same thing as the car which is 50,000. Car is halal, but why should you buy 100,000 car? Or perfume. Some of the perfumes just like that. You buy it for 100,000 pounds? That's ridiculous. How long are you going to use that? 100,000 pounds just like that. That's israf. Tabdhir is to waste the money in something which is haram. Regardless of the quantity. That's tabdhir. Also from ida'at al-mal is that the person does not concern himself in keeping it. He's putting it everywhere. His wallet is going everywhere. He does not put it in a safe, proper safe. Also, to lend it to some people who he knows, they are never going to give it back. Why you give it to them? That's called ida'ah. Wasted your money. You gave it to such and such and such and such. So it's called ida'at al-mal as well. Right? Qila wa qal. Qal, qila wa qal. Also he had forbidden qila wa qal. Qila wa qal. That is, qila wa qal is two, qil and qal is this two meaning, the same meaning. Masdaran. Qil and qal. Two meanings. And the Prophet ﷺ repeated them for exaggeration in the way that he wants you to not to do it, to prohibit you from doing it. So, what is the qila wa qal? Gossiping. It means that you carry the people, that person said so and so and so. He said as well so and so and so. That person as well said so and so and so. And you start taking words from one person to another. Everything that you hear, it goes to your tongue and out. Why? There's no stoppage here in your brain, shaking about, and you see it. Input, output. No, you're not. You're not a machine like that. You have to have something, machine there to filterize it. Input, no good. Dump it. Input, good. Output. That's how it is. And that is why the scholars, they said, كُنَّا لَا نَعْرِفُ الْفَقِيهِ إِلَّا إِذَا كَانَ يُمْسِكُ عَنْ بَعْضِ مَا يَسْمَعُ. The faqih, the good scholar, they will know that the scholar, that he holds not to narrate everything that he hears. Not everything. كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ كَذِبًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا Prophet of Allah said, Sahih Muslim, it's enough for a person to prove himself as a liar, to narrate everything that he hears. Everything that he hears. And then that's how the rumors are spread around. And the rumors kill. One person says a line, subhanallah, it travels all the land. One of the Imams of Tartushi, he said, people used to pray the salah called the Alfiyah, the 1,000 rak'ah. And it's an elevated prayer. People still praying it while the person who had elevated it, he was making tawbah in front of me. I'm the one who did it. He was saying, and people were doing it different land. Because, as I said, rumors. And rumors now, they've got the best technology to spread it as quickly as possible. Emails, text messages, Bluetooth, everything. Very quick. You just fabricate a little lie here and you will find it. Once a person who had made the caricature of the Prophet, he was burnt to death. You know the one who is in Danish people as a person? He's Danish? Yeah, he's burnt to death. So the Muslim happy, yeah, spread it around. He came to me, I said, I phoned the guy. I said, did you know? He said, no, somebody passed me the forwarded message. And I just forward. Brother, before you press forward, please read the message. He said, I'm going to make it. And then he checked and he was false. So imagine all the Muslims, they think that he was burnt to death and he appears on TV, here I am. What happens to the iman of those people? You understand that? So rumors, be careful. You could be gaining a lot of piles of sins without you knowing. Qila wa qal. A person said and a person said. Right. And then he says, qal. Qila wa qal. Prophet ﷺ, he said, كثرة المال, ضاعة المال, قيل وقال. And كثرة السؤال. Now, why did the author had brought this hadith? The reason he brought this hadith here is that this hadith was mentioned later on, a continuation of it, where in it, not to be dutiful to your mothers. This hadith is mentioned in chapter Al-Bukhl, stinginess, hadith number 297, and also Naqsh al-Bunyan, that is to decorate the buildings, and that is in hadith 460, where it says there, that is, وَقَالْ وَعَنْ قِيلَ وَقَالْ وَعَنْ مَنْعٍ وَهَاتٍ. We will explain that in due course. وَعُقُوقِ الْأُمَّهَاتِ وَعَنْ وَأْدِ الْبَنَاتِ. That is to give, to prevent or give, or to prevent and take, it's not allowed. Also to be undutiful to your mothers, and also to bury the girls when they are alive. All of that mentioned in the hadith, which we will be mentioning, inshallah, explaining in full in the chapters which are mentioned, the stinginess and decoration of the buildings. Now, in this hadith, we find the following. Number one, prohibition of asking questions which has no benefit. The ones that do not really entail good. Bringing good or pushing away the evil. Why should you ask question? Number two, prohibition of the wasting of the money. Also, the prohibition of to say everything that you hear before you make sure that it is correct. Hadith number 17. لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ لَعَنَ وَالِدَيْهِ. Allah had cursed the one who curses his father. And also we could gain from this hadith, I could add that as well, you could add as well to that hadith as a benefit, that is, the Prophet ﷺ, he likes to say things that ends up the same. Like, like he said, كثرة السؤال, إضاعة المال, it ends with the same letter. It's like a rhyme. And this rhyme, if it happens without, making an extra effort to bring it, so he's trying to bring a word that would match the other word, that's not right. But if it comes as something which is a natural in your tongue, it's no problem. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min su'il qada wa shamatatil a'da. He ends with Here, كثرة السؤال, وضاعة المال, وقيل وقال. So if it comes natural, it's no problem. But if you start thinking about it and trying to, hang on a second, what is the word that would end up with the same thing like this? That's called takalluf. So we could add that as well as a benefit. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Right, the chapter which is the hadith number 8, the chapter which is Bab, Qala al-Bukhari, chapter, which is the one, Allah curses the one who curses his parents. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says, قال رسول الله. Now this hadith has a story for it. So, because I haven't got the full hadith in with me, let me just, first of all, get the hadith. Right, the hadith says that Abu Tufayl, he asked, and he said, Ali radiyallahu anhu, he was asked by a man, هل خصكم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بشيء? Did the Prophet of Allah specify you with something? لم يخص به الناس, that he did not specify other people with? كافة, all of them. قال ما خصنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he said, the Prophet of Allah did not specify us with something which he did not specify other people with, except, and then he said, إلا ما في قراب سيفي, except in what is in my qirab. Qirab is like the piece of leather where they put the sword in it. So what is in my sword holder. ثم أخرج صحيفة, and then he pulled out a scroll. فإذا فيها مكتوب, in it says, لعن الله من ذبح لغير الله. Allah curses the one who slaughters for other than the sake of Allah. لعن الله من سرق منار الأرض. On another narration, من غير منار الأرض. Allah curses the one who steals or changes the landmarks. لعن الله من لعن والديه. Allah curses the one who curses his parents. لعن الله من آوى محدثا. Allah curses the one who protects a muhdith. And we're going to explain that inshallah in due course. So لعن الله من, first of all, the chapter itself, لعن الله من لعن والديه. Allah curses the one who curses his parents. Al-la'n in Arabic, al-tard or al-ib'ad, to expel someone, to drive them away. And also it's coupled with wrath, that you are not happy. So you expel him with, you are not pleased. Al-la'nu min Allah, when you curse, and the curse from Allah, then it is means to expel him from the mercy of Allah. Al-tardu min rahmatillah. As for al-la'nu min al-nas, the la'an from the la'an, عليك اللعنة, upon you the curse, it means الشتم أو السب والدعاء, to insult and to make a dua. And you remember when the Prophet ﷺ was approached by a man, he was teased by his neighbor, he was harming him. The Prophet of Allah told that man to do something that would incur the curse of the people on his neighbor. He told him to put his furniture outside. And the people came and asked him, what happened? He said, my neighbor is harming me. I'm putting my furniture, I'm going to leave. So the people started cursing that neighbor. And the neighbor of his, he was hammered with lots of curses, to the extent he went to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Messenger of Allah, please tell him to put his stuff back, and I will promise you, I will not do anything to him. So here, the curse of the people is what? To insult. It's not to expel. You're not allowed to expel whoever he is, Muslim or non-Muslim, from the mercy of Allah. You can't just say, عَلَيْكَ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ, which he means that the la'na of Allah is what? To expel him from what? The mercy of paradise. So when the Prophet ﷺ, he said, صِنْفَانِ مِنَ النَّاسِ لَمْ أَرَهُمَا قَدْ, two kinds of people, which I haven't seen. One of them, the people who hit the people with whips made of the tails of the cows. And the other ones is نِسَاءٌ كَاسِيَاتٌ عَيْرِيَاتٌ مَائِلَاتٌ مُمِلَاتٌ, women which are dressed but not dressed. And they sway and not sway. And مَائِلَات, and they will as well. قال رؤوسهن كأسنمة البخت المائلة. Their head is like a camel, the hump of the camel. فَالْعَنُوهُنَّ فَإِنَّهُنَّ مَلْعُونَاتٌ. Curse them, for they are being cursed. Now what is the curse here? To curse them, to kick them out from the mercy of Allah? No. Curse is to be insult. Do you understand that? It is not. So the curse is just like insult. So when these women are dressed up in a way to drag your attention, and you say, عليك اللعنة. I don't think the woman should dress up good, would she? Because she dressed up for you to say, wow. And then she, عليك اللعنة. She will hide herself, and why should I show you something? Curse her, and then she will never ever show her beauty. And also the curse, will make the shaitan away from you. This man is, every time I'm giving him a woman, he's cursing her. Every time I bring him a woman, he's cursing her. So he will stop doing this. So it's as well against your shaitan. But do it in a very sensible way. Meaning, if you raise up your voice in a country where this woman can't take you to the justice and then you'll end up in prison. If you had a beard, you'll shave it. If you have any prayer, you will leave it. No, don't do it, brother. So be careful. Use it in a sensible way. فَلْعَنُهُنَّ. And by the way, la'na, it has to be audible to her. But if you can't, this is the case now these days, then you just do it without her without an audible voice. Right. Going back now. And now here it says here, this man asked Ali ibn Abi Talib, did the Messenger of Allah specify you with something? He said no. He did not specify us. That means Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt. We are Ahlul Bayt. He did not specify us with something that he did not specify other people with. This would invalidate and falsify the statement of the Shia when they say that Ali ibn Abi Talib, he's got a will from the Prophet of Allah to lead and to be the Khalifa. Isn't it? No, nothing. He didn't specify anything. We don't have secret covenants between secret wills and counseling from the Prophet of Allah. We don't have it. Whatever we know, you know. Except, and he just pulled out that sahifa. Also, when he pulled out that scroll, it tells us that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ used to be recorded in the early times, at the time of the Prophet of Allah. It's very important. Some people think that, the writing of the hadith went later on. No, it was at the time of the Prophet of Allah. Before Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri, Muhammad ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. Even he's the first one to document the chains, but the hadith has been written already. And this is a sahifa. Ali pulled it. And in that sahifa it says, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ ذَبَحَ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. Allah curses the one who slaughters for other than the sake of Allah. It doesn't mean that you slaughter without mentioning the name of Allah. No. If you slaughter without mentioning the name of Allah, either you are a Muslim, you forgot, then there's a difference among the scholars if you can eat it or not. A correct opinion, you could eat it. Or you said, for other than the sake of Allah, in the name of somebody, in the name of Jesus. Then, in the name of whatever, person. Then it becomes for other than the sake of Allah. But also you could say in the name of Allah, yet it is not for the sake of Allah. Correct? Some people, they slaughter in the name of Allah, but they give it for the kings. Now how can we differentiate between somebody who's doing it for the sake of Allah and not for the sake of Allah? Even he mentioned the name of Allah. They said, like when the person, for example, a king passes, what do they do, these people who are hypocrites? And I remember, I used to watch Saddam, the one who was the leader of Iraq, when he was to pass between on the streets, people used to bring sheep, the sheep cost a lot of money, rams, and slaughter them on the side of the road. So when he passes by his car, he could see the loyalty of those tribes. So they slaughter it and they leave it. That's called slaughtering for the sake of Allah. Even they say Bismillah. But they leave it. And by the way, those are the people who are hanged. You know that. Those are the ones who slaughtered the sheep like this in this way. These are the ones, the Shia. They are the ones who hanged him. And this is, I would say, a lesson to be learned for all these kings. All these who are presidents. Look what these people used to do. The ones who are clubbing for you, the ones who are slaughtering you. Because they're like dogs. If you don't feed them, they'll bite you. It is. Don't feed them, they'll bite you. Right. Then he says, la'an. And this is from the major sins. So it's shirk. It's equivalent to shirk. The person, shirk akbar. Who slaughters rather than the sake of Allah. Now, the other one is said, Man saraqa manar al-ard. The one who, as well, ghayyara manar, changes the landmarks. That he wants to take the land of somebody else, he changes the landmarks. Also, it is worse to confiscate, to iqtisab. To confiscate the whole land is even worse in the sight of Allah. And that's a major sin. Another one, la'ana waliday. The one who curses his parents. How can he curse his parents? Either directly, or indirectly. He curses other people's parents, then they will curse his own parents. So he invoked the curse of Allah on his parents by cursing other people's parents. Also you are under the major sins. La'an Allah. Everything is la'an, that means the major sin. Then the last one, Man awa muhditha. The one who gives awa, shelter, help, to a person who's muhdith. Muhdith is either mujrim, criminal, or muhdith mubtadi', innovator. Both are correct. How? You are pleased with what he says and what he does, and you are patient. You don't do anything. So you give him even shelter. You help him. You protect him. All of that, you are under the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this hadith we find the prohibition of helping the criminal or the innovator. And wallahu ta'ala a'lam. We stop here inshallah. Chapter inshallah will be in chapter 9 next week. That is Bab Yabarru walidayh ma lam yakun ma'siyah. The one who obeys his parents as long as it is not a disobedience.
To which extent we should use the ruling al-darurat tubih al-mahdurat, which is the necessity, which makes it lawful, certain things. That's the question. I think this question.
I want to see the link between this question and our topic before I answer. So we're going to the topic first, and then we'll leave the question or not link to the topic to the inshallah later stage. So let's just get the topic here, which is the curse that we have mentioned. Now,
with regards to cursing on parents, if they're oppressive or say violent towards their children, would that
cursing the parents who is violent towards their children is not allowed. Regardless what the parent does, you cannot speak to him in a way which is involve cursing. You could stop him from his violence in a different way. You could, for example, ask an uncle to do that. You could ask the help of a friend of his. You could, you yourself, if you are old enough, to speak to him in a nice way to humble him. But to scream at him and you tell him, "Maf," and you're doing it like this is not for you to do that. It's not allowed. Now, Fadal.
Sheikh, would we be able to inshallah, if we enter Jannah, inshallah, would we be reunited with our parents, inshallah?
You will, in Jannah, inshallah, I don't know, well, this is the link of the question to the topic is really that weak, but, okay. You will, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he entered Jannah, he had seen Bilal, that means he knows him. He had seen Umar al-Khattab, he knows him. You will find all those people whom you love. You've got your wife, you've got your fathers, you've got your mother. But what's the worry if you don't know your father or your mother? That's the question for me. What's the worry? Are you going to be worried? No, you're not going to be worried. Paradise is going to make you forget everything. So, definitely you're going to have as well those people who you're at time, you will see them. And you will be... paradise, alhamdulillah. Even in the hellfire, those people who would see the one who used to admonish them, and he does not do according to what he admonishes the people, they would say, "Didn't you ask the Shaykh tell us to do this and do that? How come?" And you are at the moment rotating around the mill like a donkey, with your intestines going around. How can you say, "I used to command you to do good, and I don't do it. I used to forbid you from doing evil, and I used to do it." So the people, they used to know him. Now, تفضل.
Are the parents allowed to curse their children, or is there anything?
Nobody is allowed to curse anybody. The curse, Prophet ﷺ said, "لا يكون المؤمن لعانا." Believer should not be a curser. But you could curse, not frequently. Do you understand that? Prophet ﷺ cursed. Abu Bakr cursed. Umar al-Khattab cursed. But it's not something on the tongue. It is not like you trained your tongue to say the obscenity. Some of the people, they can't speak except with the F on their tongue. Everything is, hello, F. Hi, F. Goodbye, F. Isn't it? They can't. Because their tongue is on that word. And some in the Arabic, la'an, la'an, Allah yil'an, Allah yil'an. Even he loves his children, Allah yil'ankum azkakum. He curses his children, how beautiful you are. Because this is the best word he can come up with. The Muslim should not be like that. The la'an should not be. If it happened, if you la'an, what happened? Prophet ﷺ said la'an. But he had made a covenant with the Lord that every la'na to be a mercy upon the believers. And he said, I'm a man. I'm a human being. I as well get like you get angry. But Allah, I made a covenant with my Lord that every time I get angry and I say la'na, it will turn into what? Mercy. If I say something bad, it will be what? Like for example, the Prophet ﷺ, when he called Ibn Abbas to call Muawiyah to come and eat, he's saying full. And then he said, La ashba' Allahu batna. May Allah make him not to be full at all. So the Prophet made a dua against him. Al-Bukhari makes it, this is from what? The excellencies of Muawiyah. Look at that chapter, one of the excellencies of Muawiyah, La ashba' Allahu batna. Why? Because the calling of the Prophet ﷺ, the dua against someone like Ibn Bani would be in his favor. Do you understand that? So the companions as well, they made as well, even bad words, I can't even say them, some of the Abu Bakr, when he was saying to that man, when he came and he said, look at the ragtag beside you and these companions and so on, as soon as something happened, they'll run away. So Abu Bakr, he couldn't hold himself and he said, Umsus padrallat. And it's a really bad word. And I can't say the translation because of the sisters here, but it's a very, very bad word. And it's safe because he deserves it. And it does not really come to the tongue of Abu Bakr all the time, but he deserves it. And Prophet ﷺ never said, how rude you are, Abu Bakr. He just went on. Now. أخليك آخر واحد. آخر واحد خليك. تفضل.
Can you define the term curse? Because I came across a hadith up there, I don't know if it's authentic or not. If someone curses someone, that curse goes up to heaven and then it comes down to earth and goes around.
No, this is not authentic, but the curse is saying, the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ لَعَنَ أَخَاهُ, he who curses his brother, then فَقَدْ بَاءَ بِهِ أَحَدُهُمْ. It's exactly like you say in kufr statement. Then one of them, he will get it. If he deserves the curse, it will go to him. If it doesn't, it will bounce back to him. And the Imam al-Bukhari will bring it again as well in Adab Al-Mufrad when he talks about when you pass a statement of kufr upon another person. Now, go on.
Curse, is it like saying something as small as, that this person's stupid, for example, like that, or is that?
It's worse than being said stupid as well. You say stupid, you may be saying a fact, but this is a fact with an insult. It's like you're insulting him as well. If you said, do you understand that? So it's more of a rebuke in it than it's just like a fool or stupid. It's more than that. Okay? That's the curse. Now.
The person has to hear the curse. Does the person have to hear the curse? If they say something.
If you say the curse, you mean, does it have the person to curse what? In order what?
If a person curses,
yeah.
and the other person doesn't hear,
yeah.
Curse.
Well, the curse is a curse, whether the other person hears it or not. It's a curse. It's going to be counted on him as a curse. Do you understand that? Either it's going to go to that person who deserves it, or it's going to bounce back to me. So if you can curse a believer for nothing, it's going to bounce back to you, whether he heard it or not. Okay? Now we're going to Muhammad. Fadal. I'm sorry. Hang on. Fadal.
Where is in Muharram especially, and my from that most of the time food has been attributed to
Muharram, the month of Muharram?
Yeah, other than Allah, Muhammad especially Hassan Hussein.
Oh, the Shia.
Bring the food to you. Sometimes even
on the Ashura.
Sometimes even Sunni, sometimes
yeah.
And they bring the food to you. Can you eat that?
No. Any food which was brought in the occasions like that, given to you, you should not eat it whatsoever.
Sometimes even the dates, they bring in, they do khatam on.
Yes, even the dates. But I differentiate between the dates given to you directly by these people, you give it back, or you find it in front of your house. Now that in front of your house, you can't dump the dates into it because it's being given to you in the house. So here it will become under ida'at al-mal, wasting the money. So you could eat that. It's the most important thing to know that I want to pass the message to those people that whatever you're doing, I'm not approving. So if they put it in your house, and you don't know which one it is, if you know who it is, you take the food and give it to him. Sorry, I can't take that. But if you don't know, it's the same thing with the Christmas as well. Some people had put a laptop and left. and it says Happy Christmas, and you don't know what it is, are you going to go? Bring a hammer and haram. No, brother, use it. But if you know the person whose it is, you take it back. Take it back and say, I don't celebrate it. I don't celebrate it, I don't care. But they say that the scholars, if you pass the message and it's not food, and you could take the laptop as long as you have passed the message, I don't take these things for Christmas. This Christmas as a pagan, there's no problem, inshallah, as Ibn Taymiyyah had said, but Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah doesn't agree. Now, fadal. And I will go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
How do you deal with your mom who hoards things and gets upset when you throw things out?
Hoards things, I don't know, it's a general. I know it hoards a bit, she collects things and she likes to collect things, and she gets nagged when you throw it out. What do you throw it out? She hoards, for example, she likes the women in general. Any box, she keeps it. She got plenty of boxes. Any jar, she puts it on, yeah? Any plastic thing, and you end up with piles, boxes and even carrier bags and okay. Let her actually get rid of it. Why wouldn't you get rid of it? I don't know. Go on. Please, brother, don't make that mother dispute with you because of something which is naive like this. Now.
She's ready to marriage or engagement.
Right, we're going to the next question first and then go to Fadl.
First question, Sheikh. If there is someone, his parents are non-Muslim and they are enemies of Islam, let's say, they curse the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they curse Allah, they curse Islam. Now the situation of the person now, what shall he do now? Is it permissible for him to curse the people who is cursing, let's say, his religion or not? That's the first question.
If his parents are people who curses the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, now they are disbelievers you're talking about. So then you would first of all keep the minimum contact with them in terms of that you don't hear that curse. If they're cursing behind your back, that's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they're cursing in front of them, you have to really as well derive a method in which they change their attitude. You don't really, for example, irritate them. So, this person who had embraced Islam, and his mother, she is anti-Islam. Straight away, his name is, for example, was, let's say, Simon. He named himself, this is a fact by the way, Saiful Islam. Is this the way to approach your mother? The sword of religion. And she thinks about Muslim as to be terrorist. And you call yourself the sword of Islam. What are you trying to do? Are you be trying to bring your mother towards Islam? You say, look, even already you are a soldier of Islam. So do you want to kill me? So I would say, keep the minimum contact, and never, ever, just boycott them at all. And of course, don't implement Islamic law and you say, kill them. You can't do that. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a blind man. And this blind man, he had a wife, and she was a mother of one of his children, a child of his. And every time she insults the Prophet ﷺ. So he told her off. Once, twice, 3 times, and 4. She never stopped. Then, one day she said it so much, he broke his stick and he put it in her stomach and he pursed it. And he killed her. And the matter was raised to the Prophet of Allah. Prophet ﷺ stood in the pulpit, he said, somebody had done something and I want him to come out and say it. So the blind man, he said, Messenger, well, it's me. What happened? He said, there was a woman, she said, well, that woman, every time I tell her off not to swear at you, but she keeps swearing at you. And I just kill you. He said, أَلَا فَاشْهَدُوا إِنَّ دَمَهَا حَدْرٌ. Testify, and be witness that her blood is to be lawful. I mean, her killing is justified. No problem. But that was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. But you can't do that now. Okay? It's not allowed. Hang on, I'll go back to you. Fadl. Ya Aba Fatima. Al-Fatima.
With regards to parents, their mother and father, if they are having an argument and they're trying to get the children involved and they don't want to get involved, but they curse both of them. They curse
The children curse the father and the mother.
no, the mother and father curse the children.
Oh, they curse the children.
They're not taking the side because of the argument. How would you deal with that?
Oh, a situation where the father and the mother are always having a fight and disputing and cursing one another, and at the same time they're seeing their children and not siding with one of them, so they're cursing even their children. Why are you not really helping me against your father? Why are you not helping me against your mother? And what do you deal with the situation? Now, this is, I would say, I will deal with it according to the situation. It's going to be private surgery, and I will talk to the person and I'll ask, how does your father react if you say to him like this, and how does your mother react? But in general, the children should never get involved in the dispute of their parents. If they find that one of their parents is upon the haqq and the other one is upon the batil, is clear. The one who says, I'm not going to take money from such and such place, it's haram. No problem, everybody's taking. Do it. Can't we just stay in a dump house? Cheat. So this is, you could see this haram and halal. Now you could hear, suggest a thing to the mother, by saying, shall we tell her haram and so on, just telling her, but not to side your father, not to side, but you help, passing the message to the mother. Maybe you bring other women to talk to her, especially the daughter. She will bring other women to talk to the mother, but to side with the father, she will be more enraged. You as well? Against me? What have you done to brainwash them? And then she'll be mad on the husband. And I've got lots of these problems in my surgery, so I would deal with it accordingly. Fadl Muhammad.
Sheikh, just the advanced question which I said.
What was that?
Sheikh, al-darurat wal-mahdurat. This rule, where we use it and to which extent we could use it. Because we hear, unfortunately, someone who said, who give fatwa for people to do whatever they are, and he put the only necessity thing is like a darura, which is, and he deal with it in a darura case. So just what you are.
Darura tubih al-mahdura. That the necessity would allow, which is something prohibited. A principle, which we have to have it, is derived from an اضطر غير باد ولا عاد. Allah says he was being pushed to do something, do something haram, and he's being pushed to do it, not willing to say it to do it. Then no problem to eat, for example, something which is a dead animal because you are dying from hunger. No doubt about that, and all the scholars have unanimous decision accordingly. But they differed, for example, how much you eat. So you are hungry now. You're dying from hunger. There's a rotten dog. If you don't eat, you die. So you eat it a piece. Nice, let me eat more. Is that right? That's what you say. The scholars differ now. How much do you eat? Is it up to you are full? Alhamdulillah, full. Or just enough to survive? Or enough to survive for 1 or 2 or 3 days? That's the difference among the scholars. The correct opinion, we will say that to what you think comes to certainty that you're going to survive. So, if you still didn't have food, you're still dying, you can eat more. Right. And you need to have in your mind that I am doing it because I've been pushed, not because I like it. Now, the principle as well, it does not widen the scope regarding the necessity. Because there is something called, in Arabic, haja, not darura, need. Like, for example, a person who is in a house which is renting, and he's paying rents a lot, 1,500 a month. He could just go and, buy a house through the mortgage. Mortgage. Oh, that's halal mortgage or not halal mortgage. It's called mortgage. Haram. Mortgage, where he would pay less than that, and the house will end up to be his. So, you ask him, why is haram? Oh, Pir Saab said it's halal. Pir Saab said it's halal. Noor TV said it's halal. You know Noor TV? I call it Dhalam TV. Dark TV. He says halal. So how is halal? Bank, they kuffar, no problem. That's what they say, kuffar, no problem. And they take riba. Necessity, brother. Where is necessity? You see, I'm renting now, it's better I'm owning. So he needs the house. So, or he wants to buy a car. You go as well, borrow from the bank. It's not necessity, brother. It is a need. Necessity, that means it will affect your life in terms of you're going to die. Your life depends upon it. And I can think about lots of things as well. We can talk about things maybe some of you will not like. Like, for example, applying for a nationality. People will not like talking about this issue. Oh, really? I don't want to hear about that. And then there was a necessity for me because it's difficult for me to travel, without any hassle to such and such country except with a red passport. And then you apply for it. And then you have to make the oath. And you know for a fact that you're lying in that oath. So you're lying and cheating. And on top of that, you're doing shirk. This is halal. Isn't it? I'm going to talk about it because it's been a political issue here. And so I'm going to leave that. But if you want to ask me about it, I will tell you. So here as well, the dividing method. الضرورة تقدر بقدرها. That is, the darura will be judged according to that darura. How much? So, some of you are allowed to take that passport. Because he's got hassle, harassment in his country. And if he's holding his original passport, it's like he's holding his death penalty. And he wants to change it. But it's different from a person who has no problem whatsoever. He just wants to ease, doesn't want visa to such and such country. That would facilitate it. That's different. So الضرورة تقدر بقدرها. And every person should put in his head, he will be before his Lord asking him the question. And he knows your reality. Why did you do that? Are you going to be strong enough to say, necessity, oh my Lord? Because he knows. You did it for necessity or for something called luxury. Got it? Ask this question for yourself. I'm going to stand before my Lord. Why have I done it? You know, no matter how much you like to the people, you can't lie to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أسأل الله العظيم رب العرش العظيم أن يجعلنا من يستمع القول ويتبع أحسنه وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.
كيف الحال؟ الله يجزيك الله يجزيك.
أول سؤال يا أخي.
السلام عليكم.